Welcome to Into the Nexus. This is Into the Nexus episode 383. Oh my goodness, approaching that 400 mark slowly but surely. I'm Kyle Fergusson. Garrett will return next week, and I'm very, very excited for him because of these Zagara changes we're going to talk about today. Big patch notes day coming at you. I have a guest for today, however, one on the inside of the CCL. You might know him from previous shows and by chance patch note shows as well. Welcome, Bahamut.
Hi, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Originally, we were all going to sit around CCL and a competition and what an excellent season it's been. But now we'll do that briefly at the front and talk greatly about how your lovely tournament is about to be shooken up the week of the grand finals.
I'm not gonna lie, there was probably a few messages of Blizzard, why can't you wait a week between a few people? I'm happy about patch notes. I'm happy the game is changing and evolving as always, but I wish it was one more week for the players, honestly.
It definitely feels like a many hands in the pot. Is that an expression?
Too many hands in the cookie jar?
Yeah, there we go. It takes a team to make the patch go live, and regardless of other schedules, things must flow as they flow.
It's exciting though. I mean, like it is a nice shakeup going into the grand finals weekend on my end as a caster, but on the player end, I'm sure that there's a lot of homework being done and a lot of there's not a lot of time to prep. I mean, you finish your games on Sunday and you probably took Monday off to relax, or you're just back at the grind, and then you get almost halfway through your week and then a patch hits and you're like, oh well, gotta change up all of our scrims now.
I didn't think about that. I mean, obviously the players affected, you got to know if there's something secret in there. You immediately get to scrimming weird stuff just in case. But as a caster, it sounds like it's more in the, oops, I forgot I had a test this weekend kind of style. And you got to go memorizing a bunch of new Morales abilities.
I mean, it is a little bit like that for us as well, because I was playing the game and I was just like, oh god, no, I gotta sit here and remember and learn an optimized build if anyone even goes Morales, because dear lord, she is fun to play right now, Kyle.
I've got my own concerns as someone who has been primarily assassin and working on Orphea. My skill shots might be getting interrupted constantly by grenades, but I'm very happy for you, Morales, that you have a reason to cast grenade, regardless of most builds. But let's revisit that topic really briefly, because this does mean that we are now on a 1 month cadence for patches. So it was March 2nd balance update. And then we went all the way to the 5th month. March, April, May. We went all the way to May. And since then, we've been doing 1 month, our last patch being on the June 15th. So every 4 weeks about. That's grand.
I like it. I mean, it's good for meta changes, good for the health of the game. It's, as I said, professional players or CCO players, they might not like it, but things in like Heroes Lounge, NGS, I always think it's super fun to be able to have a patch come up in the middle of the season and it kind of just shakes up everything. You don't have that stale meta for an entire season of grassroots or even CCL.
That's a good point too. Everyone likes to change things up, and things do, even in those smaller for fun tournaments, get very dedicated. And it makes scouting very easy. As the scouter for my team, I kind of enjoy it because I can just go, yep, 20 games of Hogger, yep, down the list. Okay.
It's easy enough. Yeah, that's I never thought it was just that way of scouting. It's just like, what's your match history looking like?
You do your best. Lots of people hide their match history, of course. Luckily, NGS is like baked into Heroes' profile, and that makes the scouting a lot easier, except for those darn teams that put, I swear, like multiple fake members on their team in order to get me all confused. As the season goes on, you see the fakers, but at the start of the season, there's like a 9-man roster, and you have no idea who's starting.
Are you calling out the Randy Newmans in specific, where they have like 40 variations of Randy Newman on their team?
It's very cute. I'm a little upset about them, but it's kind of cute. I like their style. You can't do the custom portraits like you can in Dota. Valve lets you upload your own images, and people would build images out of their names coming together, and it was an awesome feature.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna be creative with the Newman Randys and all that sort of twists on words, bring it on. But this weekend is the grand finals and also the losers finals a bit.
Yeah.
For those who, there's a lot of esports watchers who tend to do a little bit of, I'll catch it at the end. I'm not entirely invested. I just want to see the big explosive finale. I'll show up at the end of the fireworks. So how would you summarize this season of CCL to them?
I would say a good summation is expectations were destroyed. We had upsets in a few weeks, and we had probably some of the best Heroes of the Storm. I mean, it's only season 2, but this is probably some of the best Heroes of the Storm I've been able to cast and I've seen since the end of HGC personally. It has been amazing this season. I mean, we're talking reverse sweeps, we're talking about upsets. It's been really, really fun. But yeah, as everyone can see, this is the gauntlet bracket plus the current double elimination bracket. And the gauntlet itself was super cool. The question was, does Granite Gaming have this insane run back? Do they run through the gauntlet? Because they were looking super good at the end of the season, and then they flop against Wildheart. And then it's this like, okay, does Wildheart, do they do the simplicity thing from last season? And then Wildheart flops. And then Chili Mountain comes out of nowhere and just starts crushing teams. That is the expectations destroyed for me, because you look at that round 4 first match, Simplicity Chili Mountain, that's not a result that you'd expect to see.
No, and I loved watching them throughout the season. There was kind of this personal motivation that comes in a tournament of this size that is very fascinating to watch. And confidence can get the better of players. I'm sure it does absolutely in big tournaments. People are on top of the world. They maybe cut some scrims, start relaxing a little bit, heading into like the Dota International or something along those lines. But in this style of tournament, the ego exchange, well, we don't need to practice. We've been together for last season, come in, and then suddenly teams like Granite Gaming find their footing. Or Chili Mountain suddenly starts scrimming beyond anybody's expectations. Things like 30K getting, frankly, busy with another tournament affected them.
Yeah, I would say the 2 weeks off did hurt some players and teams that I wouldn't say they didn't take it serious, but they might have been a little lackadaisical with their practice and the extra off time. I mean, one team just relaxed and they came back and they were like, yeah, we didn't do a bunch of scrimming. We just relaxed and had a good time and we came back refreshed. Whereas another team, they took time off because, like you had mentioned, 30K, they were busy with Master Clash. And that's not like it's just the 30K roster. There were some other players in there as well. So it's different synergies, different playstyles, different teammates as well. And that affects you. 2 weeks off is a very long time. I mean, I was starting to feel it as we were getting back into it. Like when we were getting ready for the show, I was like, all right, we're back into casting. Like we did a whole like top of show and practice just to get even production, myself, everyone kind of back in the flow. Cause it's 2 weeks and even casters and production, they fall off. And you know, we had a good show, in my opinion. We had an amazing show, but like, yeah, I think it was a little noticeable with some of the teams, some of the players.
How do you memorize all the names, or do you become a caster because you have the mental capacity for such things? Or are you naturally good at this, I guess is what I'm asking.
My parents told me when I was young, I never shut up. So I fell right into casting. No, it's one of those things that like, I remember when I first started playing in Chair League, I didn't like playing competitive. Like I get super anxious. Like I got so nervous that I was like shaking. Like I just get so overwhelmed with like anxiety and competing at even just that level. And I remember I watched like one Haloran cast and I was like, wow, man, like he's just mousing over talents. He's having a good time. And that's how I started. It was literally when I started, it was just mousing over talents, having a good time, talking about them. And then as I progressed, I just started challenging myself. I'd be like, all right, let's go, through this game and not try and look at any of the names, like try and just have that in the back of your mind. So it's a lot of progression. I've been doing this for about 4 years consistently. And even before I moved out west, I was doing it here and there when I, kind of was getting started. So it's just a lot of practice. Like I talked to Kala back at the last Heroes of the Dorm back in like 2018. And I remember asking him and his girlfriend, like, how'd you prep for this? And she was like, I made flashcards of every single talent. And so it was like an image and she would just show the image and it would have the name and the description. Kala would have to like memorize it back to her. Gillyweed had like online flashcards as well. Like everyone's got a different way of doing it. For me, it was just I played the game, I casted a bunch, and it was just repetition and practice.
Nice. That is a uphill road for sure. But hey, when you love the game, you just sort of have at it. And I love stopping by your stream where you're just casting all the NGS. It's so cool to see so many different levels of play, and your knowledge of those different divisions makes it really fresh to see. So I definitely everyone check that out, especially with the NGS starting up again. And if you're not, well, actually, it's too late now. That was Wednesday. So registration's over.
It was just shy.
But we talked about it last week, so you should have done it then.
Oh, then easy.
Getting back to CCL. What do you think is going to happen this weekend?
My expectations, this is the third matchup for Simplicity versus Chili Mountain. So it's technically a best of 3 of their best of 5s. And Simplicity 3-0 Chili Mountain before the gauntlet. Chili Mountain 3-1 Simplicity during the double elimination bracket. We sit 1-1 with both these teams, and I don't know. I honestly don't know with just that one match, because Simplicity was so dominant on Sunday, and I think losing on Saturday kicked him in the ass a little bit. It really kind of it lit a fire, and I think that was a big factor. Legacy in the interview said that he was super tired. They needed a little bit more. They wish that he had more time to like sleep and practice, and just like the week coming up to this was not the best. So I think this is going to be an explosive one. I think Chili Mountain Simplicity, that can easily go to game 5. I don't think it's going to be a quick 3-0. Who I lean into, Chili Mountain's looking great right now. So I would personally just lean Chili Mountain from just where they sit as a team, as a unit, and within the season. And then going up against Storm, I think Storm will win out overall. Like, my expectation is a Storm Esports victory in the grand finals, but I think it would be up against Chili Mountain.
Storm is a fascinating team. Like, they have succeeded in bringing together multiple players with multiple languages into something that just functions and works in such a confident style that it always seems like, particularly when I interviewed them, that they just kind of knew they would win. It's not a big deal. But that's gotta be a projection, a front a little bit, because they work so hard in the background.
Oh, absolutely.
In order to even like and like BBJ learning another language to communicate with his players, and even just something as simple as that Infernal Shrines game from this last weekend where they were helping Queppy get orbs. That's like, we're already playing optimally. Let's all help each other beyond this state of optimalness. And meanwhile, you got like Cattle over there hitting perfect Diablo spell shields and keeping going through impossible scenarios.
Cattle's tanking has really grown, and McIntyre, actually, Grubby McIntyre and I have talked about this in breaks and everything whenever we go into comms, because Mac is, he was in the past, he scrimmed against Cattle in HGC and all that. They are friends. They've known each other, and the one criticism we always had in the earlier part of the season was just Cattle needs someone to hype him. Cattle needs like just someone else to play off of. Like, he's a really good shot caller, amazing knowledge. He just needs like a hype man. And once we got into the halfway part of the season, when it was like Cattle was on the main roster as the main tank, and you have Make as that hype man, it's going so well for them, because Make is that hyper aggressive. He wants to make the plays. He's looking out for those. And you have Cattle kind of dictating from the back. Like, he's kind of the yes or no. He's the last person to kind of give the green light for something. And I really like that duality with the two of them. On the opposing side of like what we were talking about with Storm, Lauber and BBJ, I feel like very much fire on that frequency. There's a lot of shot calling between all of them. I mean, even Kepi is saying stuff here and there as that range assassin, either, backing or I don't like this push. And you even heard it in the comms when he was playing that Mephisto. They all could have pushed one lane. He was like, I want to push this one. So the whole team went to that lane. So I like that. It's still a team thing. It's not just, BBJ or Lauber, they're making the calls, that's what you have to do, or it's just Cattle and Make. So I think that's a big factor in both of those teams. On the side of Simplicity, they do have a main shot caller, and it does seem to play off of that. And sometimes things can get a little too chaotic, where they go for one call, but then they see another thing, so they start switching, and the target switching is very good from Simplicity. And I think that's a big factor in their success in micro team fights. But I also think that's a little bit of a falter in some senses, because they are also they're a little chaotic in what they want to do in those moments. So things to consider as we get into the two best the best of 5 and then the best of 7 grand finals.
Well, we'll keep the CCL in mind as we dive into these patch notes today, because there is a full-blown rework of Morales, not necessarily in the graphics department like you might know from some of our other ones, but she's got some new toys and certainly some balance came in. So let's go ahead and dive into it now, and then we'll kind of revisit this topic as to what the bigwigs are going to be playing possibly this weekend. So Morales got a little bit of her health reduced. She's got some healing beam change-ups as well as a UI update that I can't figure out what exactly it's trying to tell me. Safeguard had its armor reduced by 5, and Stim Drone got its cooldown reduced to 70. There's also a really, really cool bacon here of Medevac Dropship getting its level 20 functionality, where you can summon the Medevac in the base to bring someone to you as though they're riding Dahaka in that style, or a Falstad. You can bring them back, making her a global aid of sorts.
I thought this was really cool. The healing beam UI thing, you know what? Call me critical, whatever. I think it was a waste of time personally. I saw it. I don't understand why it was put in. Like, if I'm pushing Q on Garrosh, I think it's on Garrett. Like, I guess it's that clarity, but I've never had a struggle with, like, is my healing beam on the right target? Like, maybe that's just me, but I think, like, I don't think it was a necessary thing to spend time on. But maybe I'm just like, anyways.
The only thing I can figure out is that it seems to have a duration on it, and you can briefly step outside of Morales' range and then have it still attached. So if you wanted to maximize range and kind of, I got you, and continually, like, tickle back into that that heal beam, you now could have greater control of that.
That's true. That is really true. There's a little bit of mid-maxing with that you could probably do.
The main thing to kind of think about that I've found with Morales is we always thought of her as this early game healer. And in the past, we kind of took her for that reason on Braxis. Now, once her energy got changed around, that became a little different. However, she still has a lot of early game play, and the reason why she's used in things like Juice Pirates, outside of just the fact that there's Juice Pirates inside the Medevac, is because she has that early game power that'll get you that early game lead. So it seems like what they want to do here is cut down a little bit of her early game and give it back to her on the late game, so she's overall more powerful, or at least more consistent.
That is true. Like, as I look throughout the notes, it does very much feel like, yeah, the early is a little, I wouldn't say a struggle, but into that later half, like when we get to the level like 16, 20 talents, like there's some really cool new talents at 16 and 20. But in this early portion, just it's really nice to see some of the small changes specifically into the grenade build. I loved clear at level 1, and I love the new additional functionality, because the biggest struggle with going the grenade build, this clear at level 1, is you didn't get enough energy. You had to wait till later grenade talents to really build up that energy from hitting someone with that. So now that you're getting 3 energy from this, I think this is just a nice little, it's a way to sustain your own energy a lot easier. And on maps like Braxis, where I did actually end up quick matching into with Lieutenant Morales, I've had a blast. Like it was like just sit back, push Q, and hit grenades and win the game.
And that's definitely the cautionary tale with Morales right now. She is going to want to use grenades all the time to sustain her energy, which means if you're running Alarak, Li Ming, anybody who wants to aim anything at all, you might want to reconsider it and go for that auto attacker, perhaps.
True. That was one thing I was very cautious of in my game, because I think
good for you.
It was either an ETC or a Gul'dan. I can't remember who I had, but it was like I was like, I need to make sure I don't mess up the slide or the echoed corruption potential, because that, like you said, like that's one of the biggest, like even when you're an ETC player, you can do the exact same thing to your teammates. You can face melt a camp, and it's like, I needed them grouped up for splash damage. Now they're all spread out, and I can't splash damage them as a Junkrat or something. So, or even Junkrats. I see you out there when you concussion mine the camp, and oh my god.
Yeah. probably not the lane clear tool you're looking for. Plus, that auto attack's amazing. So just calm down a little bit. You mentioned some late game talents you were excited about.
Yes.
What are those?
It is going to be the extended care? No, not the extended care. It's the shield sequencer. The additional functionality, increase the range of safeguard by 60%. And then at 20, you take the hospice care. Safeguard grants the target unkillable for 1 second. If the target is under 50% maximum HP, when the effect ends, they are healed for 8% of their maximum health. You can also, I believe earlier, you can get an extra charge. I think at level 13, I can't remember. There's actually there's an extra charge talent as well. So you can essentially have 2 charges of unkillable with a 60% range at level 20. Like I was just like, are we serious with this? Like, I think this is super, super, super cool.
That pop heal is pretty impressive. And there's not a lot of unkillable spells in this game, so just to have that be featured at all on a support is pretty awesome. I don't think we have a single. We got Tazdingo is the big one I think of course.
You have Tazdingo, you've got Summer Anthem from Lucio.
Okay.
You've got Master Hooker from Stitches, and you've got Hospice Care. And I believe those are the only 3 or 4 technically with the Zul'jin. 4 unkillable talents we have in the game. So I don't know, really, really cool talent. I haven't tested it myself, but I think I think it can be really, really cool. I went for hyperactivity because I had a Vala on my team, and I was just like, here you go.
Oh, you're right, Master Hooker. I've actually never read past the first sentence. So reduce the cooldown of hook by 4 seconds. Enemies hit by the hook have 75% reduced health for healing for 2 seconds. Allies hit by helping hand are unkillable for 2 seconds. Interesting.
Yeah, we don't see it a lot, but it is there, and we have a lot of Master Hookers out there. So it's definitely out there. I rarely see it utilized because I feel like if you're at 20 with Stitches, most of the time you're hooking to kill. You're not looking to save someone. You're usually in the advantage slot with that build and that play, but that's usually.
We're certainly in that state of the game where you open an avenue to victory. However, you must now win that final team fight, and your avenue to victory will be assured. Whereas the enemy can still win that team fight, and if they go real fast and are optimized, they could still win it. So it makes perfect sense that no one's thinking, how can I best survive this level 20 fight? It's more like, how can I get an advantage and kill them before they kill me? And then whoever my auto attacker is goes and finishes the core.
On the note of Morales, though, I was curious, what was your favorite part from her changes?
I do like the hospice care a lot. Honestly, I think that the additional medevac reinforcement was just the coolest thing in the past. I always took it on Warhead Junction for fun, and I'm excited to see that utilized in a way that makes Morales more dynamic. Yeah.
I actually, now that you're bringing this up, like some of those maps that I absolutely can't stand, just Warhead Junction really. That's a really good talent for that, for a lot of mobility, because it also had a cooldown reduction now that I'm looking over at it too. So that's really, really convenient, especially like, let's say you have a delayed fight over one more nuke, or even Towers of Doom, like it's a single altar phase, or Sky Temple, you have a single temple phase. You have this extended duration or the sustained team fight. Morales can pull someone back instead of having the 10 to 15 second rotation from core. I actually really like that. Like, I think there's a lot of really cool utility with that immediately.
And I love anything that gets Morales to a more thematic place with her medevac, because using it as a bunker, it's neat for sure. And safe zone at 20 still exists, giving allies protected when they exit the medevac. But it's not that the spaceship comes down and then immediately explodes and everyone's like, we did it. It just ain't right.
Yeah. It's like getting the minivan, but the minivan's made of like sticks and twigs. Like it falls apart if Gul'dan sneezes on it too many times.
It's not the action-packed vehicle we're looking for to boost us into some awesome play. And of course it's dangerous because, like Falstad, you got to make sure you put it somewhere that's not immediately going to be seen on arrival and destroyed. But let's talk about a straight up nerf with Blaze. Flame stream damage down. Pyromania, Flame Stream cooldown reduction reduced from 5 to 4.
Honestly, the biggest thing for me is the 13. That had to be changed. I think that was the most game-changing part about Blaze. Because you were, by level 20, your baseline does not do a lot of damage. Like when you hit 10, you deal like 90 some damage, maybe. And I think it was at level 10 dealing like 600, like around 600 damage with the base added in. So around level 20, your first contact jet propulsion was nearly 700 to 800 damage. That's a lot for a Blaze. Like Brightwing at level 20, I believe she has like 3k HP. You're almost dealing a third of her HP. I mean, sure, you jet propulsion, you get a couple auto attacks, a flame stream. That's probably a third of Brightwing's HP in 1.5 seconds. I really think this collision course needed to be nerfed. It's a lot better of a spot right now, in my opinion.
MOBAs are all about taking different kits that may exist, even spells from League of Legends, what have you, and then you put them in different orders, and now you've got a completely different hero. That's just the case of things. It's like how a Magic the Gathering deck is different from another completely because you change the cards inside of it in different orders. I'm having a little bit of trouble, though, dealing with Blaze having a 50% slow just on his base kit.
Oh, me too.
It's
absolutely,
it's a lot. I feel like it needs a talent. It should augment there. Maybe it should be on fire first. It's just so much. And when you look at something like Collision Course, which you're absolutely right, had to be nerfed. It was sitting there versus Grill and Kill, Adhesive Petroleum, which are simply not needed to augment an already amazing spell.
It's I'm not the biggest fan of having things like a 50% slow baked into someone's kit. Much like how this is not a thing, but I have a weird feeling we will eventually see Emerald Dreams just baked into Malfurion's Root. I have this weird feeling. It's either that or it gets moved to like a way later talent because it's the only thing picked at level 1. So it's one of those things that like I think that might happen because we see something like this. Like that slow, maybe take it down to like 35, 40%, something like that. Like I think Falstad's Hammering is a 30% slow, if I'm not mistaken. So something I just 50% is just it's too punishable too early. That's the thing too, because you have the jet propulsion to follow up as well. Slow jet propulsion. You have a Vala rotating in, or she's already there. A Rainer, a Zul'jin, any sustained damage, you're dead. Because Blaze has you slowed with 2 oil slicks and the jet propulsion for a stun.
And we're not using them in the tank role. And maybe that's where that all comes down to. Like, we can have a 50% slow, we just can't have a Blaze that deals this much damage. But thematically, I don't want to go to that world because he's a giant fireman shooting fire everywhere. And I know that there's like dragons and spaceships the size of planets when we get to fantasy and sci-fi, and fire is like the thing that everything's resistant to. I remember when I got Skyrim, they're like, what do you want to be? And I'm like, well, clearly this dark elf because he's resistant to fire. I'm going to be fighting dragons the whole time. What there is no other option. Now eventually there were like ice dragons and stuff, and I was wrong about that, but still if fire has a weird place in fantasy, and it feels like it should do a lot of damage at the same time it should do nothing. Anyway, complete side trek there. Blaze rightfully nerfed, as he should have been.
Sorry, really quickly. I'm a little shocked that you were shocked by this, as you are such a well-versed DM in Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you got to know there's different Dragonborn, types. Acid. You got your fire.
It's true. I think it was the trailer. It was the
got you.
Dragonborn and the fires and the big breaths, and I didn't think Elder Scrolls maybe was that creative at the end of the day.
Hey, taking shots. You heard it. No.
Elder Scroll, the old ones too, are all about, like a MOBA, those elements and the organicness of like, oh my God, that character's on the road. I met them. I know that guy. And I did these quests in this order. Now the world is different. It's not exactly a gameplay showcase in that way. Moving on.
Oh, yeah, just, something kind of like Skyrim a little bit is Murden. Murden got changes.
But perfect. Yeah, he's got the hat with horns on it. Murden, this feels like they just listened to people who were a little bummed that talents weren't as good as they could have been, and it feels fine. We got Perfect Storm getting a slight buff. Heroic basic attacks increased from 0.5 to 0.75 on Stormbolt damage, and Sledgehammer additional functionality increased Stormbolt's cooldown reduction by basic attacks by 0.25.
Now, question for you, Kyle, because I went through these notes myself. Which one is correct, the in-game tooltip or the patch notes? Because the in-game tooltip is 0.5. The patch notes are 0.25. I don't know which one it is for the Sledgehammer.
You found a discrepancy.
There's a small discrepancy in the tooltip. Who would have thought? But I mean, it's very unless they patched it today, because we did get a patch today, so they might have fixed it. I might be wrong now that I look over at the screen.
Oh man, this is okay. 1 second. Yes, so we're good in game now. So it is
so they did fix it. Yeah.
1 second cooldown reduction per auto attack, and now this says takes it to 1.25 seconds.
Okay. They fixed it, because we did get a patch today. We did get a small patch that took care of a couple bugs that we are worried about on Jaina and Dahaka, and also it looks like they caught this tooltip as well. Thank you, Blizzard, for watching my stream. So.
That is, it's actually worth mentioning, and I'm actually sorry I did not do that at the top.
No, you're fine. I completely it skirted my brain as well. I got excited about talking about esports.
Well, and we could have started this episode being like, well, here comes a patch with the bug. They've actually caught a lot of these bugs week of so far, by Friday at the latest. And that Jaina thing that you may have heard about, honestly, it was fascinating. Let's just talk about it for a moment. What a weird bug. Jaina received the ability to pierce up to 3 targets on a talent with her Ice Lance, but it remembered how many targets you pierced. So if you pierced 2 targets, it would actually go, oh, you haven't pierced 3 targets yet, and your next bolt would only pierce once. Or if you only hit 1, it would like remember how many you pierced previously. And it was always trying to add to 3 before it let you have the 3 pierces again.
What about Ice Flows? Did you hear about that one?
Yes, Ice Flows, which was working on all non-heroes.
Anything.
So you're getting cooldown reduction on lane clear. Melee Jaina was a terror for a little bit. Her win rate actually didn't change much, but I expect those Jainas got themselves into a lot of trouble saying, I'm going in.
You know, one of my buddies was playing it, and I asked him, I was like, did you feel, mono-starved from being able to just spam your Cone of Cold so much? And he was like, no, I was absolutely fine the entire time. So yeah, it was one of those things where glad it was caught, glad it was fixed. And as I look over in chat, yes, we will not be banning out any heroes or talents this weekend for CCL, from my understanding. So that is very exciting. I'm kudos to the developers for getting a hot fix out to us so quickly.
Very well done. Artanis, and going by the chat, this is the new main for many people out there.
Oh my god. I had people immediately rushing over and saying, Artanis is a god, he's the best Protoss, and I don't know.
You don't know?
I played him in one game where I had top damage and everything, but I also had this god tier Brightwing on Dragonshire. Like, I was up against a Rexar, so I just spammed. Like, I basically went I went for armor at level 1, and I just spammed autoing into the Misha, and I like reactive parry at level 1, the new reactive parry. I took that and just sat there on top of Misha and Rexar. And the only reason I had to get a phase shift from Brightwing was because they started rotating more people up to kill me. So I think I'm just encouraging more people to play Artanis now that I'm realizing what I'm saying. So maybe I should stop. But it is actually really cool. Like, the phase prism change is amazing. Artanis gains the unstoppable for 1.5 seconds after a swap. That right there is really, really cool. But I love the reactive parry. Like, the new changes to that are awesome. Did I lose you?
Pardon me. I was muted.
Oh, you're fine.
First thing you're going to see is phase prism cast time increased. And that's going to make your brain go, wait, no, what now? What's everyone so excited about? Well, they removed the channel. So that part where he would either, well, if you were dashing, it wasn't really a big deal, but you would do this sort of Arn move and have to stand there like our buddy Arthas does for just about everything he does. You got to take a little break and throw out your swappy orb, which was undynamic and felt rather clunky. That's gone. So you can continue to twin blades, move about freely, position during that time. And now you get that unstoppable, which I'm so happy about because the number of times in this meta that I've swapped into a Malfurion root has been inexcusable. And it's so detrimental.
A good Anduin Chastise has caught me out from time to time as well. When I'm just like, I'll play some quick match, or, you know, you go to ARAM and it's like, oh, I'm going to get this God tier swap. And it's just like, nope. So, yeah, I think that this phase prison change was one of the biggest factors in his TLC. I wouldn't call it like a rework or anything, but he got some love and care.
Some people, particularly my drafter for NGS, Cavalier Guest, is very excited about Tank Artanis.
Oh no, he likes Tank Ariel.
Yeah, he does. He does. Anything is a tank as long as it survives long enough and does CC. And I think it is possible, particularly if we're doing one of those big kind of clumpy double bruiser, triple bruiser kind of frontline things. This is a lot of noise. It can be very loud. However, Artanis in the high ranks right now sounds like it's going to be still dedicated to that special Battlefield of Eternity place that we've known him for so long.
I would really like to see Artanis on Dragonshire in the solo, like up against a Yrel, a Leoric. Like, I'd like to see him in like one of those like true matchups, like Malfield, Blaze, or, you know, I think he'd be really, really cool in that matchup because it's such an island of a lane in a sense. You could maybe get a gank rotation from a Genji, a Maiev, someone, you know, with that mobility. But oftentimes it's just you sit in top lane, you PvP, try not to lose too much in the lane. And I think Artanis does really well in that factor. It's going to be situational. Like into Akira, he might struggle, I feel, because Akira can shred through with the damage over time and everything. Malthael might be a bit of a struggle, but like I think into like Yrel, Rexxar, Misha, I think you could find success into those. So maybe these are the slight changes that move him off from just Battlefield of Eternity, and we start to see him on some of these island maps or these island lane maps. Even Warhead, I'd like to see him on too. I think Warhead's so big that he could just sit in top or lane.
His big problem is lane clear. It's where he gets counter drafted, and then that's where he's going to struggle on a bruiser role in the first place for a very long time. Plus the prio, as we've talked about here, of being able to clear a lane fast enough in this current iteration of the game to actually excuse yourself to go do that camp.
You just wait for them to pick Imperius, and then you'll have a matched wave clear.
There you go. Like, and that's the sadness of it, right? Is that you wait for them to pick equally bad lane clear, so you can hopefully win the team fight, which is very cool and very neat. But we have these extremophiles, if you will, like who've lived inside this lane clear meta for so long that they're just going to dominate.
What do you think about that 7 talent, the new final cut, which is on his passive? After using an ability, your next basic attack within 6 seconds deals 40% more damage. When under 25% health, this bonus is increased to 60%, which I think is perfect for the playstyle of Artanis.
Yeah, they got rid of his follow through entirely. This is just the new and flavorful version. And I agree, low health Artanis is where you're screaming at your computer, enjoying yourself the most.
And pair that into level 16 now, Blades of the Templar, attack speed bonus, it's reduced. My bad, sorry, read it backwards. But still, you still pair that into Blades of Templar and you still have auto attack speed. Like, while that was nerfed, I still think that plays really well into 7 because that's what I did. And as I said, I sat in top lane on top of Amisha with the reactive parry as well. So it was just twin blades, auto attack. It's just, you had a very fun time. And I think the Rexxar Misha didn't. And that's where you want to be as an Artanis player, or maybe just any hero in Heroes of the Storm.
We're getting there. I'm really excited about just getting to play him, possibly as the bruiser main for my NGS team. I'd really, really enjoy that. Battlefield of Eternity is where I have all the practice, and that map in particular makes me feel like I'm playing Dark Souls, because I've got my big blade dash, which I use at the exact range that puts me ever so slightly for that brief second outside the range of the immortal spin displacement ability. So you do damage out, kind of like you're rolling in Dark Souls, you dodge, then you return to get in up in that crotch area, just like Dark Souls, and just as long as it'll let you before you go rolling out again and then immediately re-engaging. It's
like every speed run of Dark Souls I've ever watched is exactly like that. It's just that weaving, that bob and weave.
Except for I'm not doing it with a DDR pad or bananas or whatever the heck they've wired up to show off how awful I am at Dark Souls.
The best I actually saw was the hardest, not Dark Souls, but it's just a very hard game, Alien Isolation, because it actually has machine learning in the game. And there's like the hardest mode, which it very much learns your patterns, how you hide, how you move. There's a dude who speedruns the game with steering wheel and pedals.
Why? Because
Because that lives rent-free in my brain.
Yeah, that's true. I had no idea the thing was so smart. I actually heard... my wife loves horror video games, so she was really upset that there were so many robots in it, because that wasn't what she bought it for. True.
Yeah. And then the friend comes and stalks you for the entire game, and you sweat, and it's very, very terrifying. But it's a great game. Good story. Really, really challenging, in my opinion.
We got Dahaka up next, who's getting a lovely, lovely new tool. But first, let's talk about the top of the list thing here. Basic attacks per second increased from 1.11 to 1.25. And if you do the math on this, this is a bonus attack every 5 seconds or so, 5.5 seconds. So it's not extreme. My first thought was, more attacks? Well, this is going to let me run away with auto attack talents. And it's a buff to every single one of those, but I don't think it's as big as we might be hoping.
When I realized that it wasn't as big as I was thinking it was when I got my first tongue drag, and I sat there and I was like, I'm still only getting 3 autos, because I believe you can get a tongue drag and like you can either drag them back or you can like tongue drag and like get 3 autos. I believe is like the 2 basic ways that you can play it. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit there and get more autos. Tongue drags are gonna be insane, and it's just like, nah. But what I will say this though, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong in this, maybe I just haven't played enough Dahaka, when I chase people, I feel like I can get more autos in when I'm chasing people because of that speed. I don't know why, but I feel like you actually have a little bit more sustained damage. Like if you go, I went 2 builds. I went a tongue drag build, and I went a race car build, a PvP build, I think was what my chat wanted. And when you go race car build, I really feel like you actually have some decent sustained chase as a Dahaka, which is kind of weird to say, but I think it's awesome.
That's interesting. I guess his speed sort of matches when his auto attack animation increases or would be delivered, and that allows it to be more responsive.
It just, at least that was the feeling I got from it. Maybe I'm wrong, and it's just I just haven't played him enough, and I'm just it's coming back to the fresh hero. But personally, I think that there's a few solid different ways to build Dahaka now. Like, I really feel like his level 1, it wasn't touched at all. Nothing at level 1 was touched, which I still think you can take any of the 3 level 1s. I think they're all amazing. But the level 4s are really, really cool. The changes to Lurker Strain as well as the one who collects.
I've been loving Dahaka. I only just even invested in him after 3 years of just not touching him because he drove me nuts in solo queue. But for NGS, he's a delight. You get to communicate with your team. You're doing tactical things. You have insane sustainability. And as an old URL player, Enduring Swarm with 50 armor, the idea of having 50 anything just makes me excited again.
I gotta be honest, though, I did laugh a little bit when I looked at the entirety of the tooltip for Lurker Strain, because Lurker Strain does like 6 different things. Like, you have like a knockback, you have invisibility, you also have this new functionality, which is like extra, it's like damage as you burrow near people. Yeah, you're actually showing right now. Emerging from burrow grants Dahaka stealth for 3 seconds and knocks nearby enemies back, dealing 125 damage and slowing them for 30% for 3 seconds. And now it has a passive addition, reduce the cooldown of burrow by 6 seconds, which I believe burrow is 16? No, I'm wrong in that. I think it's 14. So I think you go down to 8.
20, actually.
Oh, I know.
So we're going to that 14. You were right slightly. You said the right number at some point, and that's what counts. That is now, the interesting thing about Lurker Strain is if you enjoyed it, you may have enjoyed the fact that it allowed you to move while underground. And you can now do that.
Yeah, they give Tunneling Claws baseline on burrow. So you move 50% of your movement speed while burrowing. And it has gotten me out of a couple hairy situations. Nazebo walls, great. Just, burrow, just start to just kind of move away. The enemy team tries to gank you in top lane, burrow, get behind your gate. Just, it's such a good, I love the addition to just the baseline burrow. I think that was huge for Dahaka.
It is slow though. 50% movement speed is
it's very, you do not go very far.
But you're absolutely
do not go
right.
very far.
You break that Nazebo, which interesting counter. I love the Nazebo Deathwing days when that was such a counter there, and it could happen. Mostly, what happens though is you're on the dragon pad, and the whole team shows up. So you burrow, and everybody just makes a tight circle around you, and now you have just enough movement speed, just enough to get to the other side of that Stitches.
It's really cool. I don't know, like I haven't tested Lurker Strain myself. I actually I went the one who collects for one of the games, and that was really, really nice for just camp clearing in general. Like I believe I think I was on Infernal Shrine, so there was a few camps I could just easily pop around to and just clear out.
This was bugged at the time of release, is now fixed. This was allowing 40% bonus damage to monsters as well. Now it is just down to mercenaries, so you may see some lingering Dahaka picks on things like Infernal Shrines as people went a little crazy with it for a time. But yeah, you have your old increase essence collection from minions by 50%, and now you can do some mercenaries here and there. It's a cool fill out. I'm a little conflicted on 4 still. I think Hero Stalker, I don't really care about the takedowns anymore. It's all about the essence gain from the Dark Swarm. Mm-hmm. And that feels so huge and needed.
So this was the conversation that I had as well, because I think it boils down to who is your matchup and what you're doing. If we're going Towers of Doom and my PvP is 2.5 seconds or less into a Zul, a Yrel, whatever is matching me, I will probably go into the one who collects, because I'm not going to be 1v1ing so much. I'm going to be clearing lane, rotating. But in those situations, let's say it's the same map, and you got a Zul who's just sticking on top of you by since the start of the game, maybe it is time to go Hero Stalker, because you are going to be more PvP. So I think for level 4, it's between one who collects and Hero Stalker in the situation, and I think that's the big breakdown for me, at least. Hero Stalker is great. You can force the value of Hero Stalker as well. You could be the aggressor in all of this. It just really depends on how you want to play that lane. If you just want to PvE, rotate, get experience for the team, show up to objective phase, I think the one who collects is probably your better option. Plus, you get that minion clear, the mercenary clear, so you can just wave clear, mercenary clear, and get back into your rotations. So it just depends on how you want to play your Dahaka at that 4.
He got a Gambit talent as well. This is tied to his paralyzing enzymes, drag slow to 40% for 2 seconds after it ends. When drag ends, now Gambit, deal an additional damage, 280 in this case, on the base thing, and over 2 seconds, so it's like a poison. Every death reduces this damage by 40 up to 5 times, so you still retain a slight amount of damage over time if you were to die that 5 times.
I tested this.
How is it?
I kind of like it.
Yeah?
I kind of like it. Yeah, I do like it a little bit. By level 20, the paralyzing enzyme scaled to 662 damage, if I'm not mistaken, by level 20. So it does scale. It's not because I thought it was just a flat 280. I was like, this is gonna be bad. And then I got to 20. I was like, just this, because you also have tongue drag damage as well. I didn't do the math on the scaling on that, but just the mortgage ton, as I like to make a joke as they are, that scaling on it is pretty good. So by level 20, 600, nearly 700 damage just from the scaling of a talent, plus your baseline at level 20 as well. I it's kind of good. It's kind of good. I know you're competing with Feeding Frenzy. I know you're competing with Symbiosis. I think there's situations where paralyzing enzymes gets a lot of value.
I could see, of all the Gambit talents we have, I mean, Stitches probably being the one in this category as well, this feels keepable.
Yeah.
Because I could basically trade paralyzing enzymes damage for isolation in terms of damage. And say, okay, I don't need isolation for damage. You might want it for other reasons, like the slow, the silence, the reduction of vision. And I'm going to go adaptation now.
Yeah. I mean, even then, if you're worried about losing this talent, you can go Lurker Strain at level 4, and you have the knockback, you have the slow, you have the invisible, you've got the cooldown reduction on your burrow as well, which, as we mentioned, burrow has 50% movement speed. It is 50%, which is very slow. It's, as Kyle said, moving like mud, but still, I think these couple changes are huge for Dahaka because it blows what was already a very diverse talent tree, where we didn't see some talents. We saw a lot of, tongue drag here or dark swarm talents there. I think we might see some opportunities for a few extra burrowing or burrow type talents like the Lurker Strain.
Am I crazy? Did this used to give? Yeah, well, that clearly, but this used to give stealth, right?
Which did?
The burrow talents.
There
we
Lurker
go.
Strain. I
Well,
believe Lurker Strain was the Lurker Strain. It did, yes.
But I'm looking at a 2016 update, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since he's had some TLC on that one, but I don't know. I think it's really, really cool. I think there's a lot of opportunities, but in competitive, I really think we'll kind of fall back into our Dark Swarm talents, race car Dahaka, hero stalker, stuff like that. Paralyzing enzymes, paralyzing enzymes. It's cool. Feeding frenzy's really good, and then I believe the level 7, does it not give spell armor, or is that the level 1?
That's
blanking.
level 1, but you're thinking because that's the Dark Swarm build that would take you down that entire Dark Swarm build, which is extremely fun.
It is. Oh, it's a blast. So, my recommendation though, as someone recommended in my chat, is you take the 3rd talent at level 1, which is going to be your enhanced agility. You take the 3rd talent at level 4, which will be your hero stalker, and then take the 1st talent, all the other tiers. That is the one that I tested, and it was really, really fun. So yeah, the feeding frenzy at level 7, ferocious stalker at level 13, elongated tongue at level 16. Because you have the feeding frenzy as well. So this was like, if you're like, I want to test one Dahaka build, that'd be my one to suggest. I think that one was super, super fun since all the little changes.
Wait, does enhanced agility affect movement speed while burrowed?
No.
Oh,
it only buffs your speed as you exit a bush, and it also increases the duration how long that movement speed stays. I believe it's like baseline is 2 seconds, and then it gains an additional 5 seconds or something like that, or it moves to 5 seconds.
But it says can move at 50% movement speed. So if I were to, because this is my dream here, this is what I want to be able to do because it sounds so enjoyable.
I see what you're getting at, Kyle. I'm going
to burrow in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, burrow stealths. It does stealth still. Oh, okay, it's still stealth. Grant stealth on. It's just that I'm surrounded by everybody and they hit me as soon as I do it, so it doesn't ever look like. Okay.
Well, so now they can't. Well, they couldn't before because it knocks them back. But anyways, I see what you're saying.
Yes, I want to burrow in the bush, and I want to go into lane stealthed, and I want to have the level 16 movement speed to do it, so I can actually get pretty far out there, burst from the ground like I'm some sort of mobile Junkrat mine, and shoot them into my team.
I am looking forward to the Kyle Fergusson YouTube video for this.
It sounds like
I think you just big brain that, really. Like, I have to test that. I have to test that later today.
This is what I want.
I wonder. Huh. I wasn't thinking. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that one. Nice.
I'm gonna try it. I actually spent this whole week playing Zagara, so we'll get to that next week. I'll report on that. But next up is Karazim, who has a new level 20 Fist of Legend. Gain 50% of the benefit from both level 1 talents when not chosen. And if you're curious, as we all were immediately upon reading this, Insight will be completed. It'll just be 50%.
Here's my theory, okay? Here's my theory. This was my tinfoil Bahamut theory the moment I read this. You actually take Insight at 1. Then you take all the punching talents. Because if you take Insight at 1 and you take a bunch of the punching talents, you can have your I'm forgetting the name of his E, the multi punch. You can constantly do that. You can just constantly press E and utilize that ability if you have insight completed and you take a bunch of those punching talents, because you get cooldown reduction, you can get duration extended. And then here's my theory. All right, you ready for this, chat? You take this level 20 Fists of the Legend and you get the damage bonus for 50 and the healing bonus for 50%, but you're constantly having the increased punch damage that will be proccing and triggering all of this even faster. It's my theory.
I see. So you're so not only
it's very late game.
Right. But you're not only sort of saying, here's what I want for the entirety of the game. You're also saying, which one of these do I not want at 50% when I get there?
Yes. And I feel like having Iron Fist and Transcendence, I know it's at 50%, but you're at level 20, so it does scale. I think that's super cool. I have to try it still. I haven't tested it myself yet. But I'll report back as well and let you know how it is, because I think that there's a really cool uniqueness with that. We'll have to see. Like, I personally, with the decent amount of Kerosene, we see in CCL, I think we could see this weekend.
Yeah, he's utilized in a very unique, we don't need cleanses because we're going to kill you kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I like
the heal it. Oh, so someone's giving math in chat, and the heal is at level 20. The heal would be 176. I'm assuming that's at the 50%.
Okay.
But if you're proccing it super fast with the auto attack and the insight and everything, I feel like you could just constantly get it triggered. So you may be doing 176, but you may be doing 176 every 1.5 seconds or something like that. I'd have to look into it myself, and see what value it is. Maybe I'm just sitting here and on paper it seems cool, but in practice it's just garbage.
That is interesting. I honestly didn't really think of the dynamicness of what do I not want to be reduced when I get to 20. That's a really cool idea. Speaking of not cool ideas, if you're a fan of it, however, the rest of us rejoice. Lucio nerfs. We got High Five healing reduced by 20, and Mixing Fire removed functionality. Casting High Five on an enemy hero no longer heals or grants Unstoppable to Lucio.
I reminded my Lucio player this week when we were playing Storm League. He got Mixing Fire and he went into the enemy team. He's like, I'm gonna go High Five the enemy team. I'm like, you don't have Unstoppable. You don't get a heal. Like, don't forget, like, you can't be as aggressive.
I would almost be curious to see this just the Unstoppable part, because you're right. As a high octane play, if I was into this sort of thing, if I was such a horrible person as to play Lucio, just kidding, but no, that enjoyment of going in and healing myself almost like I'm some sort of crazy roller skates variant would be enjoyable. And that moment of invincibility, if not unstoppable, would satisfy some sort of desire I wanted from the game. And now it just feels like this is just dangerous. Dangerous to be aggressive with.
I wonder if we see any different priorities at level 20. Do we consider the Summer Anthem for the unkillable? Is that, I know it's probably in the like 20% pick rate, maybe even less than that, in priority or popularity, I mean. But I wonder if this opens up avenues. I wonder if it opens up avenues for Summer Anthem, for a house party potentially. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's dumpstering the talent, but at that point, Mixing Fire, essentially, it just lets you dash and deal damage to enemy members, right? That's really all it does.
High Five now can be cast on enemy heroes, dealing damage, reducing all healing received by 50% for 3 seconds. Reduce the cost and cooldown of High Five by 30%.
I did forget about the healing reduction. It's still really top tier then, sorry. I completely spaced on the healing reduction part. I'm like, healing reduction at 20, that could be the win or loss of a game, or win or loss of a fight. Like 50% of a healing phase, or a phase shift from Brightwing, 50% of a life binder from Alexstrasza, or an ancestor healing from a Rhaegar, even potions or super pots from the Decker Kane at 50% would be really, really good. So actually, excuse me, I still think it's a top tier talent. My apologies.
I think the main thing we're going to see from those top tier players is just a later pick Lucio because of this. And
that's yeah, I would agree with you.
That means Stukov reigns first pick supreme in that department?
You know what I'm really, really interested about is the change into Stukov in the sense of not in this patch, but the priority and talents. We have a little bit of change in him. Fetid touch, new additional functionality, range attacks, and melee attacks are now toggleable. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Don't know if it would make me take Fetid touch over reactive ballista spores, but I really am curious to see the change into Stukov's going into what we call in CCL the same icon build that I've called it the trait build essentially for Stukov because it's all the same bio kill switch portrait. And I wonder why are we seeing such a dynamic shift into this? Is it because of the reactive ballista spores? Is it because that we don't need biotic armor at level 4 anymore? Like, why has biotic armor just fallen off out of nowhere? These are my biggest questions. I know we got some Stukov changes, but I'm excited to see and find out why Stukov is actually changing playstyle, at least through the CCL competitive realm.
I have answers for you.
Oh, you do?
Because I just did my interview and replay review with BBJ this morning.
Oh, perfect.
And it was on the exact build that you're talking about. So, Reactive Ballista Spores has a number of functions. Activate to instantly spread a weighted pustule to all nearby enemy heroes and reset the cooldown of bio kill switch. So you're not quite the Tyrael type 2017 where you're like, hey me everybody, come own me. I wish to be owned to 50% health so I may do my thing. You don't need that anymore. You just get while below 50% health. The cooldown is 150% faster. So what you do in kind of the stack is you end up going vigorous reuptake. You have 3 targets. You can skip the biotic armor because the armor is now so reduced, it's not as impactful as it once was. Targeted excision, detonating exactly 1 weighted pustule with bio kill switch reduces the cooldown of bio kill switch to 8 seconds, other abilities and whatnot. So we're still going, we're still stacking.
Mm-hmm.
Detonating weighted pustule with bio kill switch within 1.5 seconds of its expiration increases its damage and applies the slow in an area. Enemy heroes who have a weighted pustule applied to them in the area. So this is where it really starts to come together. And the reason we're moving away from virulent reaction is because Anduin is the counter pick to early Stukov.
Mm.
So when
you have you have Glyph of Faith as well. So
when you land a virulent reaction or silence anybody in general, or lock them down with a sweet slow without virulent reaction, they're going to be picked up. And what do they have upon them? A weighted pustule that gets pulled into their team.
Okay,
so you pop it, blow it all over everyone there, and then you can activate your reactive ballisto spores to get another reset and then pop that on the whole enemy team in one big go. Because reactive ballisto spores is now activatable.
I see. Because it was one of those things that like Grubby, McIntyre, we all noticed it. It's like, why are we seeing this shift away from, I mean, even virulent reaction at levels 13, that's huge that we're not seeing. I mean, it's not like it's gone. It's not like there's no more of this build. It's just a lot more of this bio kill switch build.
And Super Strain, that was a Diablo game I reviewed too. So I'm like, Super Strain, that's the Diablo counter. We always hear that Super Strain, the healing when you get stunned with healing pathogen upon you, will be more healing than Diablo actually deals damage. You will be at higher health at the end of a Diablo combo. Mm-hmm. However, Pox Populi at 16, bio kill switch no longer removes healing pathogen, instead resets it or sets it to 3 seconds. So pop reactive ballisto spores in the background because it's late game and you're too dangerous to be up trying to spread it on people in the first place. Second pop on the same healing pathogen.
Oh my god. And then you have the weighted pustule value. Wow, this is okay. Oh, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that video. I'm looking forward to that video to see how you guys go into this. But yeah, no, okay. I'll have to try this out myself. I'm not the best Stukov player in the world, but I really want to just try and see, how this all works out, how it all kind of pieces together.
And that's why I was so excited, because anything that moves us away from virulent reaction, which I'm fine with, it's a fabulous skill, and I'd be willing to have said skills. It's just that as currently an assassin or bruiser main in Storm League, I pick Stukov because I have to, because I have to heal. and I go a very, very easy build because I haven't played him in a month because I only have to heal once a month.
Whereas I, on the other hand, go Lucio because I'm going to keep people in a circle. That's me.
It's very cool. Now the actual change that happened, the balance for Stukov outside of the meta shift in what you're going to building him, Fetid Touch, additional functionality, range attacks, and melee attacks are now toggleable with activatable. There was a beautiful, cool bug that reminded me immediately of old shooters that were broken, where you could basically auto melee and hit one, and it would reset your auto attack cooldown, and you could do range melee, and get 2 auto attacks in a row. That is now fixed. You will be put on auto attack cooldown instead. But much like old shooters where you might start to reload, switch guns, and come back and have the gun full of ammo, it was a feature in certain...
the old Wolfenstein, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Competitive as it was, that Wolfenstein.
Hey, I played competitive Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. I never had that issue with it, or I never saw that exploit, if you will. But God damn, man, that takes me back. Whew. Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. I have not played that game in ages. Fun one though.
The weirdest thing about old games is the graphics updating in your mind.
Yeah, I actually went back to it like around. I think it was like the start of the pandemic. Actually, I was just like, I think everything really slowed down for work. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna download Wolfenstein. Maybe I'll play that. And I'm like, oh my god, I remember this a little different. Like either way, but yeah.
2000, the big one I played, and we all hit it on the school computers in some file called homework, was 2004 Unreal or Unreal 2004.
Okay.
Those graphics are pretty rocking in your brain. And I urge you to go look at them again if you enjoyed that particular game. But Fetid Touch,
that's fun.
Not gonna, currently, very cool.
Yeah.
Not gonna compete with this reactive ballistospore business.
No, I think it's one of those things to try and get people to pick up the talent, but you might get some people who are like who try and find some different optimization builds, or maybe they have that skill set to be able to toggle between the two. But yeah, it's hard to argue against reactive ballistospores level 1 in general.
Tyrande was up next. A little bit of a surprise to see her getting any sort of updates at all, but hey, Tyrande fans rejoice, and those who play alongside Tyrande rejoice as well. Sentinel additional functionality. If an enemy hero dies while revealed by Sentinel, reset its cooldown. So if you like the sniping aspect, there's something for you.
There's some good Tyrande players out there that can hit a nice Sentinel snipe and get a kill. I actually have one set in my chat command because it was just so good. We actually had one this season in CCL. I believe it was, oh god, I'm blanking on the name. Feel awful now. It wasn't X-Ray. I feel like it was 30K actually. Yasu. Yeah, it was a Yasu snipe with the Tyrande Owl on, I think, Curse Hollow in the bottom lane. Like, it was this insane bottom lane push, and he just throws out a Sentinel at the end and just snipes an enemy person, and that's really cool. I think that's a really cool playability, a really cool play factor with it, because it's not like Sentinels where like demolishing people left and right, but you get into the late game Sentinels where they really chunk into you, and you have Harsh Moonlight as well. The reset value could be a lot higher.
The one I'm most excited about is Hunter's Mark additional functionality. Tyrande's basic attacks heal for 1% of her max health, doubled against marked targets. Not a ton, but if you've ever had a quick match Tyrande who only heals herself, possibly she'll have some spare time.
Hopefully she actually uses the Hunter's Mark though too. It
is a bonus button, that's true. A lot of them seem to see a bow and they say, my bow is for damage, and they proceed thusly for the rest of the game. This is an interesting trend though, and on Tyrande here, who has abilities like Lunar Flare, which is perhaps the shortest description in the entire game right now, we are seeing a lot of additional functionality. And in order to encourage heroes to play certain ways, or to encourage heroes to be picked, the paragraphs are getting progressively bigger. And do you think that's going to be an issue?
Our tooltip paragraphs? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense it can be I'm trying to think of the right word. It can be very difficult for a new player it can be overwhelming for a new player. There we go. To see a paragraph and be like, okay, it does this and then it does this and it affects this. Like, I understand that. But if we look at a lot of other MOBAs, we look at a lot of things, even, and we'll probably talk about it here and there. And I'm surprised we made it this long without mentioning it.
We've done great. We've done great, by the way.
We've done so good. Please, everyone pat us on the back for this one. But, you know, we're all learning Pokemon Unite, the vast majority of us. And if you go in, all of those tooltips are a solid paragraph about what the talents do. So while I do feel it can be a little overwhelming for maybe newer players, it's like, God, there's so much. I think it is good in the sense that it also gives us a clear picture and an understanding of what something does. Because I can read, for example, like looking at the Dahaka Lurker strain, we were talking earlier, there's like 6 things that are in that paragraph. But it all makes sense because we all played heroes a bunch. Maybe a new player might be like a slow, a knockback, a stealth, a passive. Like, that's a lot to look into and read about. But I think it does inform the player as to what we're doing. So I personally, I like it. I like the realm of moving into a little more description into some of these tooltips if we had that opportunity.
There are some other talent incentivizations in here. There's some new functionality on your Mark of Mending, basic attacks against marked targets, heal an ally for 4% of their maxed health. That sounds nice. I like that.
I'll take that. There's Ranger's Mark at level 13. The cooldown reduction from Hunter's Mark per basic attack is from 1 to 2 seconds, as well as cooldown reduction of Lunar Flare from basic attacks against marked targets from 3 to 4 seconds. I think Ranger's Mark at level 13, pretty big. I wonder if we find ourselves in a realm where we see a trait build Tyrande, per se.
I would enjoy that. I think in a world of Kharazim being in my business, it's okay to have another one at range who is maybe bringing some equal aggression. And even this Darnassan at archery. If you are playing an aggressive Tyrande build, you are now passively, or at least through other talents, contributing more to the healing, and you can enjoy these later talents more and maybe not feel so selfish about it.
All I'm going to say is Wildheart made it look good, so I want to see more trait build Tyrandas. I think it's one of those things that, like...
That. I really wanted to... They were really excited to bring out that Tyrande. I wanted to see it too.
I know. I think also Tyrande sits in the spot of the meta where she's not bad, but she's just not popular. It's like Sonya. Sonya was good before she had the slam changes. I personally think she was always good. She got the slam changes, she's even better. But it's just popularity within the Nexus. I think there's a lot of heroes that are very, very good. They're just not popular. It's just not what people are practicing and constantly spamming and going through. So I think there is a realm, and we might be living in it now with these slight changes, that Tyrande might be buffed up. Maybe she's not S tier or the best in the world, but maybe she's a little bit closer to that A-B range where she can be more impactful than before. And even then, think about it. I think about it this way. We go into a lot of burst compositions. Why not consider grabbing Tyrande Varian Chromie? You get the Hunter's Mark, you get the taunt, you have the Lunar Flare follow-up, and Chromie burst damage. Even Li Ming or even a Greymane, something to finalize that damage and play off the Hunter's Mark and the taunt from a Varian or even a Garrosh. Like, throw in a Greymane, a Li Ming, even Lunara, like some sort of sustain or burst. I think Tyranda's in a better spot because of this, and I'd hope we see more trait build Tyrande being able to impose burst ability into the enemy side.
This might go too far. However, if the balance designers thought of this in advance, power to you. What if that Stukov build I just rattled off, that is punishment for cleanses, because you're not going to be getting someone out of that virulent reaction, and a cleansing hero often is going to be in the area to spread that way to Pustule too, as well as the Anduin pull. What if we're seeing a philosophy where they basically say, if you don't have cleanse, we will help you recover from that. And Sentinel getting a reset allows, that hero that in that exact Varian Chromie Tyrande situation, they barely get away. They get cleansed out of it and they walk away. It was a lot of damage, but they walk away. Now Tyrande with the Sentinel reset has a chance to actually win that, get that kill, and continue the pressure. So every healer without a cleanse slowly has some sort of answer to it.
I like that. I like that actually. Even then, I mean, we could pick up our best cleansing tank in the game, Joanna, and just use, you've got that value as well. So that's an interesting design idea though. Like, what if it is that? What if it is just to literally move Tyrande into that better realm where it's not so punished by cleanses?
We're also seeing things like Brightwing Spit become huge, particularly in the CCL. Like Magic Spit, never taken, unless you're weird.
Yeah.
And then you were ahead of the curve. You were weird for the good reasons. You were an early adapter, I think is how you call weirdos in that environment.
Yes.
And now it's basically the pick every single time in CCL, just because you were going to get that big reset. Granted, they're not stacking on top of it like the Critical Mist, which is a lot of fun. They're still doing that peekaboo because they need the sight and the shield.
I've actually seen some decent Dream Shot at level 4 as well for maps like Towers of Doom to be able to delay out objective phases. And even Hush, I believe at level 16, I think it is.
Sure.
If you hit in the center, you are able to silence the target. It's up against Criterize. That's so hard to argue against because Criterize is 25% of their armor reduced?
Yeah.
So it's a hard talent to go up against, but Hush does have its value here and there. I have been seeing it from time to time. Also, I was trying to think of the other map where you see Dream Shot and Hush paired together is Curse Hollow. A lot of good poke value.
Makes sense.
I think those are really, really good talents to pair together. If you play a lot of Brightwing and you haven't tried Dream Shot and Hush, I highly recommend that duo together because the range increase, it's a good setup and anyone can play off of it very well from your friendly side.
Asmodean.
Nerf. Oh, they touched the boy.
Yep. Nerf to the demonic invasion backdooring. Cooldown increased by 10 seconds, and demonic grunt explosion damage reduced down to 88.
Storm Leaguers rejoice. Asmodean is nerfed. His split push value is a little less. I haven't tested to see how it feels. Personally, I really don't take Hellforged armor. It's either cooldown reduction or double summons. Like the armor's cool and all, but like if you're gonna siege, just invest into sieging and just go for the double minions, like the double demon lieutenants, I think it is. So or the demon lieutenants. Anyways, it's not that big of a change. Like I don't think Hellforge was like super crazy strong with the 25 armor, but 20 armor, that's still fine.
Yeah,
I just think Battleborn or Army of Hell, those are your two go-tos.
Let's take a look at perhaps some win rates or something like that, because that is a bit of a mystery. Battleborn is absolutely the one I see picked the most and the one I hear the most about, and Army of Hell also one I hear about, but then you just want Battleborn in the first place. So Hellforge armor was the highest win rate here, and also the highest pick rate in Storm League. So we were living in a different universe.
I just, I like Battleborn, but it depends on the build you're going. I'm actually looking at one of my favorite builds is actually the lowest right now, but like auto attack build. Wrath at level 1, Battleborn at 4, you go Bombardment at 7, and those three talents play so well into each other. When you get to level 16, you go Hell Rift, and you basically summon, or you basically laser, you dunk, auto, and you can just constantly bring out your army. And you're also getting crit kickers from level 16. But there's tons of ways to play. There's so many different ways to play an Asmodean, and we're seeing that now. And since this laser push build is the hot priority, they're gonna bring that down a little bit because it can be really, really hard to go up against, honestly. It can be really oppressive is probably the right way to put it. Just laser build, like everyone is it's just you can't get away from it, you can't deal with it. And if you let it go, it's like a murky in a lane that isn't dealt with, or even, dare I say, a Zagara in a lane that's not dealt with. It's going to push, it's going to win, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Cassia up next. Thank you, developers, for giving me my 2 weeks I requested. I know that's not how it works, but I made it to Masters with it, and I can rest. Cassia, Blinding Light. This is her passive behind the ability, or Blinding Light's damage bonus reduced from 20% to 15%. So Cassia had a little background feature, which is kind of easy to forget because it's on her blind itself, that allowed her to do just general more damage to a blind target. That is now down. There is also some Thunderstroke, initial bonus damage reduced. Not a big concern, but still was that level 1 kind of battle, pre-scaling sort of thing. And then Surge of Light damage down again. And if you want to see a graph of damage over the years, Surge of Light is the one to look at, because it's a big old wave as we encouraged it and then said, oh, no.
She needed a nerf. I'm sorry. She needed it. She really did need it. Like Blaze, like I said earlier about Blaze, it just too good of a spot right now. Even in our CCL, in our NGS, our Heroes Lounge, she's in too good of a spot competitively.
It had to happen. She was bringing damage that could bring about triple bruiser, that could bring about double support, and limiting those options is just fine by me. My main concern is kind of the Anubarak equation, which is you changed my throughput here. I have to go back to the drawing board for a bit, because it was very exact how I would fend in and then do my Surge of Light. I knew what kills I could get. Now that's changed. But I honestly don't think we'll be seeing Cassia disappear from the battlefield.
No, I think she's still going to be a hot priority. She's still a great hero, but maybe we see a different level 1. Maybe we see charge strikes a little more often rather than seeing the thunderstrokes. We'll have to see what the data looks like in a couple weeks.
Falstad got an update, and it is pretty tame, so you don't have to worry too much at home. Gathering Storms got a buff, which is still in a weird spot, because Gathering Storms is often our talent we use for lane clear. Now they're trying to buff the side that's stacking on heroes, but it's still a lane clear talent in many people's eyes.
I tried this out.
How is it?
It's I liked the old Gathering Storm build. This one is, especially with the boomerang bonus damage increase, I think it's in a bit of a better spot. The issue is that secret weapon is still secret weapon, and that is my counterpoint. It's just like, you take 1 second off a secret weapon, that's not that big of a deal, honestly. It's really not. So, and I know they nerfed secret weapon by like 15%. I still think auto attack build is in a really, really good spot. The scaling of Gathering Storm is a little bit better with that 30 stacking. And for anyone that's wondering, it works the same way as Vala's Fire at Will, where, you know how they changed it, where it went from it's just infinitely scaling at 4, where they changed it for it scales infinitely by 2, but there's like that 20 stack mark. This works the same way. So you can overstack your Gathering Storm. If anyone's wondering, I did test that, and it does overstack over 30. You just get that bonus at 30. But with the boomerang, it's a little more enticing since you have the 25% increased damage. I have argued this in the past. I think I've even said it on CCL that you can go into technically double mage, but you go into like that variant again. You go for this lockdown hero, you throw out the hammering, which with the Gathering Storm, keep in mind, the boomerang reduces the spell armor by 15%, if I'm not mistaken. And that right there, that's a pretty cool factor, because Chromies, Li Mings, they can burst for 15% more damage. So maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's a little too far out there, but either way, I still think you can go Gathering Storm at 1 or Frequent Flyer. Dishonorable Discharge. I'm sorry, Blizzard. Give us the version of Dishonorable Discharge when it was bugged without the bug, because I think that was a way better spot. When they changed it and they fixed the bug, that killed it. This additional functionality of at 30 damage bonus, reduce lightning rod's cooldown by an additional 2 seconds, getting to 30%, that's the hardest part, because nobody's gonna sit underneath you with your W. It's rare when people sit there and just take that damage for free.
Calamity's at level 7, correct? For Li Ming?
Calamity? Yes. Yeah, I think so. It's 4 or 7. I'm drawing a blank right now.
What if we attached it to charged up? Because the problem is it's too hard to stack 2 the reward of takedowns reset lightning rod.
Yeah.
And if we can give that around Calamity's time, you still have this window, because at 16, it is not safe for Falstad to get up to his old tomfoolery anymore.
Yeah.
He's not going to Calamity in there, as it were, and try to get resets. That you, as Li Ming, you get a sort of mid-game advantage, and you got to back off that idea, unless things are just magical.
Yeah, I loved Wingman in the past. I liked the way that worked. I love the old W build. I love W build when it was bugged, not because of the bug, but because of just the way that it worked with the resets being already in there. This just is very unappetizing of a talent, and even the changes in the patch. I'll be blunt with this one. It's just, I love Falstad. I love playing him. He's one of my favorite range assassins, and I feel like I have two options at one and a horrible option at one.
Frequent flyer, secret weapon, needed the nerf. I think we're in agreement that the other things could be elevated up to be on the level with secret weapon, frequent flyer.
Mm-hmm.
Jaina, very light little rework here, at least to her Q stuff, but as we alluded to earlier with bugs, now fixed. Frostbolt Pierce increased from 1 to 2 additional targets. You can hit 3 with that Pierce. And there's a fancy change functionality. Ice Flows, Cone of Cold hitting enemy heroes reduces its cooldown by 2 seconds, doubled if they are chilled, up to a maximum of 8 seconds per cast, giving you a 2-second cooldown.
That one's really cool. That one is really, really cool. I think team fight wise, it could be pretty popular for maps like Infernal, where you're going to be stacked up around the shrine, and she just throws, one Cone of Cold out, and she's hitting multiple hero. You know, Ice Lance, Cone of Cold, Blizzard, probably burn someone down. Probably have a second Cone of Cold after one fall of the Blizzard snow.
I like the triple pierce too. That might actually, once you kind of get them pooled, you can probably get through a bruiser camp pretty well.
I feel like it'd be really good for maps like Curse Hollow and not Infernal Shrines, Towers of Doom and Curse Hollow, where you can poke at the objective phase. I've seen a few Frostbolt Jaina builds where they just utilize that to poke at the objective and do it from afar. Easy enough.
Yeah, people are blocking naturally, as they should be, and you're able to reach back there. Battlefield Eternity, the old Jaina build as we used to know it, when you would burn through using things like Ice Lance. It's an interesting go. They're trying to encourage you to use Ring of Frost as well, reducing its cooldown from 80 to 70. A bit of a hard sell, I think, for many people, but Ring of Frost still a decent ability, and a little switcheroo with some 16s, trying to get you to take that Northern Exposure armor reduction now at 25, and many people are still going that route, of course, with Numbing Blast.
And Numbing Blast, it's a 1 second route, but that 1 second route feels like an eternity. And if you have Ice Flows into that as well, that means you could potentially, oh my god, I'm just realizing how much route you could get from Jaina at level 16 right now. That's kind of crazy.
That is true.
Yeah, that level 7 is going to pair super well into the 16 of Numbing Blast.
Oh,
Northern Exposure is cool, but you can have a route every 4-ish seconds, maybe less.
Yeah, and since you get the doubled against chilled heroes, but if you're hitting enough heroes, you could lead with the Cone of Cold, and then 2 seconds later, granted, you have to hit 4 heroes? Oh, that's not impossible. So you hit 4
Infernal
heroes.
Shrines, yeah.
You hit 4 heroes. They're all chilled 2 seconds later. It's still chilled duration. Do I need to take a level 1 talent for that? Let's see. Chill lasts for 4 seconds. Nope, I'm good, and I get my route. Neat.
You could take, isn't there a level 1 that increases the duration from 4 to 6 seconds or something like that? 4 to 8?
And I love this talent in quick match when no one ever gets healed. But in other situations, usually around 6 seconds, somebody's received some sort of aid due to me putting marks upon them.
You'd hope.
Hopefully they're being responsive. Let's head into Zagara territory.
Yes. I'm very interested to what your thoughts are on this.
Basic attack range increase. This is because they got rid of the functionality on the Creep Tumor that increased your basic attacks. But now Creep Tumors increase the speed of summons from up to 30 rather than 20. So Speedy Hydralisk if you sort of prep your lane about. Baneling Barrage is the big change here. Charges reduced from 4 to 2. Cast time increased slightly because you're now going to launch 2 Banelings per cast. At first, you go, wait, no, I want all those charges. But then you realize there's a level 7 talent called Baneling Massacre where you get 2 additional charges of Banelings. And now you're shooting lots and lots of Banelings.
Mm-hmm. It actually took me a second to figure that one out because, like, someone had said when I was reading through the patch notes, I was just like, "Oh, so you're only firing 4 at a time?" And they're like 8, and I'm like, "Wait, what?" So then I was like, "Oh, right. If you take the level 7 as well, yes." But I think these are some cool changes to Zagara. I really wish we saw her more competitively because I think her design's cool. I think her theme is like I love the vast majority of things about Zagara. Maybe not playing against her, but I really do enjoy a great Zagara, and it's really cool. What do you have for us here?
I'm just showing some of my gameplay where I got to enjoy this Baneling Massacre business, and it was a lot of fun. The cast duration, you really won't notice. In all honesty,
oh my god,
you're pretty good for it, and I beat a Hogger in lane.
No, that's not easy. I'm looking at this clip right now, and I was just watching you. Like, you can rapid fire out those Banelings. Like, they really. I know the cast time has increased, but I'm watching this. Does it feel like sluggish at all with when you're casting them, or is it like, does it feel just more optimized and smooth? Because it looks that way.
It actually goes pretty well, and since you are already going to be locked into that position in the first place, probably casting this multiple times. Oh my goodness. Around level 13, I could do 1,200 damage with the whole pile. So all my charges ready, and then you maybe throw on that a maw, which I'm not good at, but
oh my god,
the maw does have to be cast correctly. They can't get pulled out of it, of course. Maw has a very long cooldown for what it does sometimes. The Banelings will detonate on the maw itself because it acts as terrain if you do it wrong, but that will be around 2,000 damage to whatever's inside that maw. And from what I've heard, CCL players are considering just first banning Zagara for the weekend. Because this is an enabling thing. This is lane power that can beat those who might be more reliant on self-healing when you are safely out of range.
I was going to ask you a question in which it was going to be in Storm League ranked, unranked, quick match. Would it be smart to just try and dump a bunch of Banelings into someone's face? And yes, that is actually very, very smart. I mean, it's a tactic we used in the past, but I just watched in this clip Azul walk up to Kyle as the Zagara. It was about level 8, level 9, about level 9. And Zul ate almost every single Baneling but like 1 or 2 and went from full HP to about maybe an eighth of their HP. Azul at level 8, 9-ish. So this is, for anyone that plays Zagara, and if you can have someone just step in your face and stand there, spam your Qs and kill them, because it looks like you can really just burst with this Baneling Massacre. I have to try this. I'm excited for Garrett already.
It's a lot of fun, and it does a lot of damage.
This Murden. You did the same thing to this Murden right now. He went from full HP to about an eighth. There's some autos, there's some Roachlings and such, but most of it was Baneling. Holy jeez. And these come back really quickly as well.
Now, the problem, of course, is going to be without Nidus, you will have tons of mana issues. That is just the nature of an older design hero like this. And that Maw is going to mean a lot of hearts, and it got really, really expensive to pull off. So here I'm doing this build with the auto attack range, with scaling auto attack in the background, and I'm doing great, but I got to go in that Nidus every once in a while.
I keep seeing you jump in there. So it's a very good build, but you are going to be mana starved. So there you go, everyone at home. Just take Nidus, jump into the Nidus, get yourself healed back up, get back into lane. You are just destroying this top lane. Oh my god!
I really had a great time. I really had a great time. There's some other augments in here you might be excited about, like Infested Drop, basic attack, damage bonus increase. There is a combo that might interest you at level 20. First of all, returning slightly to the past of that beautiful Zagara play, there is the Broodmother talent. Every third basic attack also launches a Baneling.
Oh.
And this is auto attacks on anything. So lane clear. They got rid of Fury of the Storm, and now if you still want that functionality, well, here's a free Baneling that is going to help you clear that lane super fast. Very enjoyable in that way. In auto.
So that's the one thing I wanted to ask you is it doesn't use one of your Baneling charges.
Nope.
It gives you a free one. So you could essentially fire what? You could do a bunch of autos. So you could probably get like 2 out from the autos, but you in between weaving autos and Banelings, you could probably do like 10 Banelings in a few seconds?
Absolutely. It is a lot of Banelings.
Ooh.
There's also, though, a pretty cool stack that you might be interested in with this new level 20 talent, which is called Packed Instincts. Zagara and her summons deal 25% more damage to enemies attacked by Hunter Killer in the last 3 seconds, which, of course, Hunter Killer attaching to somebody is going to be a debuff for Zagara and her summons of 25. This goes amazingly with that sort of corrosive saliva business for busting tanks. And you can even take perhaps the oldest school talent in the entire game in Venom Spines, activate to make next basic attack apply damage over time, and that poison damage will be augmented by 25%.
Just get Blizzard, work on that 30-second cooldown there. If Yrel could have Seraphim at like -2 seconds cooldown, maybe in Venom's Minds doesn't need to be 30 seconds over 5 seconds. I'm just saying, like, maybe if it was every 10 seconds you could do it. Like, that'd be kind of cool. Maybe bring the damage down a little bit, but like, I'm trying to think, like, there's a poison talent, the crippling poison, I think it is, for Valera, and I don't even think that activation is longer. Like, I think it's shorter than. Anyways, sorry. Just seems like a really cool talent at level 4. Never see it because Medusa Blades and also just stacking talent.
And as chat, of course, brings up, we're still far away from Broodlust. We still need Broodlust. There may be some reservations as it was someone else's idea and we want to have fresh ideas. I don't know. We still want it. And I think I'm not sure what to do with Tyrant's Maw, actually. Now that I'm thinking about doing Devouring Maw, Tyrant's Maw, Devour deals 50% more damage, takedowns reduce its cooldown, could be a thing for people who can aim it. And that reset potential and that pick potential is what we would see in high-end play, which is why we might see that first ban Zagara all weekend.
Mm-hmm. I mean, BBJ was the one that reported this to you?
I'm hearing it from multiple sources too.
Oh, Jesus. Like, okay. All right.
Scrims have been going, and Zagara seems to be a force.
Because BBJ is not one to oversell something. He's usually pretty tame with his. He's not like tongue in cheek with a lot of his statements on Here's the Storm. So I'm excited. Like I'm ready for this weekend. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with these hero changes, if there's any priority. But I'd love to see some Zagara. The only time we've seen Zagara in CCL was the not Icebreaker tournament, but it was the last free agent tournament we had for season 2, and I think it was Mene actually took a Zagara, and in the interview I was like, "Why'd you take me?" He's like, "I just wanted to hunt an Abathur and Garden of Terror." Just all right, cool. So. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. I hope for it. I think Zagara is super cool.
I think so too. She's been outshined for a long time by our regen bruiser sort of meta and design, which of course has made that environment more dynamic. And Zagara being the lane bully was not exactly fun. Nobody enjoyed just getting completely outclassed for the first 7 levels of the game while scaling impacted them.
I'll never forget the Zagara I played against on Dragonshire, where I think it was when I was still platinum in the game before I had fallen so very far. And I will never forget the Zagara who just bodied me while I was playing Asmodan. And the Zul'jin who died like 7 times, never finished their stacks, even the first half, flamed me and said, "Why'd you lose against the top lane?" It's like, you didn't help me. It's a Zagara, and you didn't help me. And it's a Zagara. Like, what do you want from me? It's like, it's an oppressive hero if played correctly. And I think maybe we see this a little bit more. I do want to get your thoughts really quickly on that level 16 change. The Jagged Barbs attack damage bonus increased from 40% to 50. Do you think that's any hot priority at 16, or is it going to be more Mutalisk, Corrosive Saliva to pair into potentially the Pack Instincts at level 20?
I hadn't even thought about it.
Her basic attack range was increased from 5.5 to 6.6 baseline. So for anyone wondering, 6.6 is Zul'jin when he completes his first half of You Want Axe. And now you're also increasing it again. So you're at 7.7 range, which is Zul'jin with Headhunter plus You Want Axe done.
Does this stack with Serrated Spines?
I wouldn't see why it wouldn't.
Auto attack quest?
I feel like it should.
Yeah.
So that's like I was looking at it and I was like, man, I feel like there's a realm where we could see auto attack Zagara. And then, you could still go Pack Instincts at level 20, and you have that range increase. You have increased damage from 16. Or excuse me, attack damage bonus increased from Jagged Barbs. Plus you have increased damage from Pack. I think there's a realm where auto attack Zagara exists. Maybe we're slowly piecing this together, Kyle. Maybe we're seeing what the CCL players are seeing in her.
I mean, I certainly took Serrated Spines because your usual lane bullies, like Hogger, like this Muradin I had for some reason. With Dings, of course the Dings. But they don't deal well with just you poking. It's kind of that idea when you show up to a bruiser lane with a Zebo and you're just standing there auto-attacking them because they don't have anything they can really do about it. It's not doing a lot, but there's nothing they can do about it. If that actually unlocks and powers up with Jagged Barbs, that could be a pretty big deal.
I think I'm starting to see what the CCL players are seeing in her, because at first I was like, oh, really cool. I looked at the Zagara change, I was like, hell yeah, and that was as far as I took it, because I was like, I'm happy for her. I'm sure there's some StarCraft or some Zagara lovers out there who are just like, no, I want it different, and I understand. Closer to lore is always more fun. But either way, it's at least a step in a direction for Zagara.
And these Banelings are a lot of fun. Like that,
yes.
We've moved away from the Banelings deal more damage to non-heroic targets of that sort of long-range siege that you knew a long time ago. Kind of what Cassia now does to walls from afar. We're away from that frustration now, and using these in a more team fight, even melee way is just very, very satisfying. But that concludes our patch.
Yeah.
Some bug fixes here that you might be excited about. Shield Glare now scales. If you're concerned about Johanna damage, I've got a treat for you. It's done. It's ready.
Now I can actually see how far it scales, and if my theory is correct, would it have gotten that one kill in that one game where I have shield? No.
Could have.
There's been a couple moments where I'm just like, would that Shield Glare have killed someone? Would it have scaled high enough? I don't know how hard it scales throughout the game. I mean, you look at Blaze Jet Propulsion, as I mentioned, by level 10, you're doing like 90-ish damage baseline. It's not that much.
We need some retroactive points here, like like Rainbow Six Siege has. If they report a cheater in your game, they will retroactively go back, flag that game, and give you points as though you won.
Oh, so I deserve all those wins. Get it.
Exactly,
yes,
exactly.
Yes.
It's on Blizzard right now to go back through all your Johanna replays and make sure that you are awarded points for Shield Glare kills.
I'll still only get 160 per win and 230 per loss. Yeah, that sounds about right.
The systems.
The system.
Well, this was a meaty episode. Oh my goodness. So let's go ahead and bring it to a close, unless you have any further thoughts on this balance patch.
My only thoughts are thank you to the developers working on the game. Thank you for also patching this game 2-ish days after a bugged, not fully bugged, but a couple bugs in a patch come out. So mostly for me is just shout out to the developers. Thank you for working on this game, and thank you for making sure that everything will run smoothly for this weekend, as I do believe there are no bans on any heroes or talents due to this patch coming through today that fixed a couple of those little things we mentioned. So thank you again to the developers.
And I'm very excited for Pokemon Unite, because a new MOBA has come out for the Switch. If you haven't played it, check it out. But it has almost exclusively a sort of farm the jungle system when it comes to scoring points. And we've been looking for a lot of ways to encourage our jungles in Heroes of the Storm. A popular quote being thrown around right now is that the Final Fantasy XIV developers went and played a lot of WoW and other MOBAs in order to design their game. Other MOBAs are only going to help Heroes of the Storm. And I'm really excited for some of those ideas, like you capture a Pokemon, it goes and basically attacks a tower, in this case, turning it into easier to score points. we could see lots of dynamic ideas come from all of our developers and all of our community playing that new game. We'll definitely talk about that in the future. We'll have you back on to talk about Pokemon Unite sometime.
Oh, please. I'd love to join.
And I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to say that I'm doing a Pokemon Unite podcast with the likes of Kai Berries and Mockery, 2 Heroes of the Storm content creators that you can find under the name Ao's Clubhouse. So if you want to break the shackles of your computer from time to time and lay on the couch like I did last night and still play MOBAs, Ao's Clubhouse podcast is right for you. Look it up. But now, let's end the show proper. Bahamut, where can people find you across the web?
It's easy enough. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Bahamut Gaming. It's easy enough. I stream almost every day when I'm not doing other things. Like I take one day off a week, or I'm on, CCL for the weekend or something. So if you enjoy my casting, you enjoy my commentary, or if you want to just come by and hang out and talk about bad movies like Space Jam, the new one, come on by twitch.tv/Bahamut Game. I'm actually going to stream a little bit after this. I'm actually going to play Pokemon Unite.
Nice. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I laid in bed last night and played rank. So I got to great rank in bed. So if I can play a MOBA in bed, like laying next to my dog, I'm happy. I'm content.
It's good. It's spammy. No mana. It's 10 minutes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Give it a shot.
It is a good time. Yeah, definitely. And if you don't have a Switch and you don't want to buy, all the way into one just to test out the game, it is going to come out for Android and iOS sometime in September. So keep your eyes peeled for that one if you do want to check out the game, but you don't have the availability of a Switch.
Lots and lots of Heroes of the Storm people playing that game right now.
Oh, yeah. People were telling me yesterday when I was playing, they were like, man, I was having a blast up until I ran into I think it was like Fan and like a 5-stack with like Fan and all these other people, or it was like I ran into like BBJ's 5-stack or Leon Black's 5-stack. So there's a lot of Heroes of the Storm players out there. If anyone knows Shot from Heroes of the Dorm, he's actually already top 100.
Damn.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Well, as we end the show, we want to thank the patrons over at patreon.com/ITN. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Declan H., Cheesy Bob, Chris K., Sean B., and Mike R., and everybody who supports us over there. You allow us to have fabulous guests like Bahamut here. Join us for a massive patch show. Oh my goodness. Almost 2-hour episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. Catch the show live at noon Pacific time over at twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Garrett will return next week. I can be found at Kyle Fergusson, and all the shows I do are over at kylefergusson.com, 2 S's in Ferguson. Go check out that Pokemon Unite podcast, Ao's Clubhouse with Kai Berries and Mockery. What's this button? We'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Take care.